What's going on, guys? In this video I'm going to be going over my monthly P&L, my good and bad trades, my statistics, and some key takeaways from this month and what I'm going to be doing better in the next month. And if you're watching this right now, please hit that like button because it actually does help my videos be put out there more by YouTube. It does help the algorithm, so if you can just take 1 second, just click that like button. It's really going to help me out. Appreciate you guys. What's going on, YouTube? This is your boy Alex, and today we're going to be going over March, which has been my best month, but why I'm kind of frustrated and upset about it. Now, since my YouTube channel is still pretty new, it's only been a couple of months since I've been doing this, I'm still trying to figure out the best way to make the videos. I'm still working on figuring out how to edit them really well. I'm still figuring out how to record them really well. I'm still figuring out how to really set up a video to be better for you guys and to keep people watching longer. In just a few minutes, I'm actually going to be going over my trade recaps, going over the good things that I did in those trades and also the bad things and what to improve on for the next time. But before we do that, I need my cup of joe. And this recap's cup of joe is brought to you by one of my mugs, which is the Angry Mug. And even though this month has been really good and I've actually made more money than I have in the past previous months, I actually gave back half of my monthly profits, and I'm gonna go over that trade and why it was such a terrible idea. Now let's take a deep dive into this month. Okay, so I've kind of restructured a little bit and improved on my stats that I keep, and basically I've just kind of created formulas to kind of better help me understand what's going on, what kind of trades I'm taking, if I should be taking those trades in the first place. For this month here, I have made a basic $3,485, so basically $3,500. If it wasn't for my huge loss on Wednesday the 25th, then I would have been up $6,000, which is really why I'm upset for this month. And I really want to get into a lot of these personal stats and these pattern stats that I've started tracking a little bit better, and I'll do that right after I recap my trades. Okay, so the first trade that I wanted to go over was didnt, and this was on the 4th, and this is literally my favorite pattern, and this is kind of why I wanted to go over, and I've been really trying to practice these entries and exits to better capture most of the move. Now on didnt, on the 4th, I made $505. My entry was 2.306, exit was 2.118 for an 8.15% win. So if we look at the daily chart, as you can see here, it had a huge run here on February the 28th, and I was looking for the bounce short, and I played it here on this day right here. So let's get into the intraday. So this was the run it had on the 28th here. As you can see, it gapped up huge and then basically just sold off the whole day. And then I played it on the 4th, which was, so on the 3rd, I saw this starting to squeeze back up. So I knew this was getting ready to set up to be a nice bounce short. So the next day I was looking for a spike, a morning spike, basically just into resistance and failure of that spike so that I could just short into and then just ride it all the way down. Now, as you can see here, it gapped up pretty well and then it kind of sold off, and then in the morning, this is what I was looking for. I was looking for this morning spike. So this is the 1 minute chart. It dumped a little bit here, and then I was kind of patient because I didn't want to, because this was already kind of far off its highs, so I was really hoping for some kind of spike. So it spiked here, and then it pulled back a little bit, and so I was just going to see if this held and if this is going to spike even further, or if it failed, then I would have gotten into the bounce. But it ended up spiking even higher, and so then once this pulled back, this is when I got in here. And then basically I just rode it all the way down. I covered half of my position here, and then when it just really kind of seemed to hold this level, I ended up getting out here because I didn't want to really lose my profits and, you know, have to get out for a break even or a much smaller win. The 25th, this is the trade that I really wanted to go over, and this is the trade that killed my month, and which makes me really frustrated with myself because I haven't really made this mistake since I've become consistently profitable. And what I did was I held in hope. I was hoping that this would end up coming down, and I just became a stubborn short. Let's get into it. So basically my entry was 155.8, exit was 186.4, and I lost 19.64% on this trade. And I took a huge size. I took 8,000 shares. So big position, and I could not cut the trade, and here's why. So let's look at that trade. Okay, so if we look at the daily chart, as you can see, it started to have its first run here on the 24th, and this is what it looked like on that day that it spiked. So basically, it spiked in the morning, pulled back, consolidated, and then ripped a little bit higher, and then kind of held this level. So at this point, I mean, this wasn't the most ideal setup because it didn't run huge. But if this were to gap down below this level here in the like 160, 170s, then a lot of these people that were long, they would be looking to sell, right? Because now they're underwater, and they were hoping for a squeeze the second day, but it didn't come. So they would end up selling. So this was a decent short to get into. And so when I saw this gapping down, and then it failed in the morning, it dumped. What I ended up doing was I got in here on this bounce, and as soon as I realized that, hey, this isn't breaking down, that this is still going, I should have cut here at high of day, but I didn't do that because I was in with such big size that I wasn't willing to take the loss here. I just kept telling myself that it's going to come down. And every time it pulled back, I'm like, okay, this is over, finally. It's doing what I wanted to do. But then it always recovered and kept going higher. And it did that all day. And the worst part is here, when it was consolidating, held this level literally for a long time, and then started squeezing, this is when I should have gone out. But because I was already down so much, I didn't want to take that loss. And so I just kept on holding, telling myself that it's going to come down. And it never did. Kept squeezing, and it squeezed hard. And as you can see, it went all the way up to 2.25. So I got very, very lucky that it ended up coming down, at least a little bit. So I was able to scale out into these dumps here. Thankfully I did that because my loss would have been a lot bigger. But either way, this was just such a terrible trade, and I lost $2,500 on it, which wiped out half of my month pretty much. And the last trade I wanted to go over was ASTC. Now this was another perfect bounce short. This just does not get any better. Like, this was the perfect setup, and this is what I look for every single morning. This is my favorite pattern. It works almost all the time if you have all the criteria met. Now my entry was 539, exit was 475 for an 11.87% win. So this was a good sized win. So if you look here at the daily, on the 25th, it had a huge gap from basically $1 to $3, and it squeezed to $8. So this ran insane. And then it closed really, really weak. It closed all the way right back down to where it opened from. And I was just waiting for the bounce. So as we can see, here was the day. It literally, pre-market, it was up like, well, let's see, from $1 to $4. Well, like 300, 400%. Yeah, 400%. That's insane. Wow. And then it squeezed really hard to 775, and then it sold all the way off back to where it opened from. I was looking for a bounce short, basically any kind of spike into this resistance that I could short into. And so on the 27th this morning, it gaps up, and this is how I played it. So it basically failed here. Then it just kind of chopped around, and I threw an entry in here in this crack of 445-ish from the, 1 minute candle here at the open. So I got an entry here. Now, usually this technically should have dumped harder, but it held. So that's what made me a little bit nervous, because I was only in half size, and I was nervous about taking my second half into this bounce, which clearly would have been the right thing to do. And let's say if I didn't get into here, into this crack, then I would absolutely be getting into these bounces. And so I just didn't think about that. I'm like, man, what if it squeezes and I lose a lot of money? But you got to trust the pattern, and the risk is set here at $6, obviously, high a day. So you had your set risk, you have your bounces to get into. This just does not get really any better. And I kind of screwed up my entries, so I was only in half size. Regardless, though, this was a great trade. It ended up fading and cracking, and I ended up taking covering here. What I did wrong with my covers, though, is I didn't hold the other half. And I mean, And as you can see, this just completely dumped from $5 all the way to $3.5 basically. But this was an offering. They did another offering today. So this is kind of an unpredictable move. You just don't know that if a company is ever going to do that like midday. So this is not something you can predict. So, you know, I would say that these were good covers. Obviously, in hindsight, I should have held, but I didn't know that they were going to come out with an offering. All right, so those were my trades. Now I wanted to talk about just some personal statistics and some stats with patterns. So this month has been kind of weird because I have been still testing new strategies. So my win rate here, as you can see, 61%. If you take out those testing and those practice and like those little paper cuts that I've been taking on scalping and trying to go long and things like that, then I would be at about 80, maybe like 83% win rate, you know, which is my average. But they were kind of screwed up just because of all the scalps I've been trying to take. So my average winner for the month was 490. And my average loser was 334. Now again, this average loser is a little higher just because of the $2,500 loss I took. Generally, I would say my loser about $200. So, and here's what I really wanted to talk about. Now, it's kind of important that you guys keep track of how well you do on different types of patterns, because that's going to help you figure out if you should drop a pattern or if you really should be aggressive on it. And if we look here for the month, I took 2 trades on the first red days, and I was 50% on them, and I made $300 on them. Bounce shorts, clearly, I took 6 trades, and in all trades, I was 100% right, and I made almost $4,000 on them. Overextended gap downs, took 3 trades, 67% win rate for a loss of 288. Support crack, I took 1 trade and did well on and made 350. And then scalps, this is what I really wanted to point out. I took 11 trades, and there's actually more, but I combined them if they were the same ticker. And my win rate is 36%. Now that's complete trash. 36% win rate, come on, like, clearly I should not be taking these. Like, no matter if I want to practice and if I want to learn how to do these, it's just not the right time, especially when I'm trying to grow my account and things like that. So these are important to really track so that you know where you're doing well and where you're not doing well. Now, a few things that I did really well this month that helped me really progress was not thinking about the money when I'm trading. And I did this really well at the beginning of the month. So basically what I switched was I didn't have a monthly goal for profit, but basically I just wanted to take it one trade at a time. Just focus on the pattern. Focus on where I should be entering, where I should be exiting, instead of like, hey, I want to make $500, I want to make $1,000 today. Every time I've done that, it's just you either cut your winners too short or too quickly, or you just get out when you shouldn't get out, or you get into a trade when you shouldn't get into a trade. So it just creates a lot of issues. So when you focus just on the pattern and just forget about money, you're going to trade so much better. The other thing I did really well was focusing and being patient on trades. So I would let the backside come in first before I got in. Instead of trying to guess where the top is and start shorting, I waited for those cracks. I waited for pullbacks and just got it in on bounces, because you can be late. It's fine as long as you're not, you're not shorting support. You can be late and still take me the big chunk of the move. That's how I have such a high win rate of 80% usually, is because I'm patient enough to wait for the backside. I don't try to guess the top. And the bad things I did this month, number one, I was not cutting losses quickly, especially on that one. It doesn't matter if it was only a couple times. It doesn't matter if it happens once even. If that one time wipes you out, then what's the point of having 100% or 90% win rate when that one trade wipes everything out? You need to cut your losses quickly. And I wasn't able to do that. I was holding and hoping. So next month, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be implementing hard stops, at least for the next month, to keep me disciplined, to avoid any big loss like that. I'm going to be setting my stops at my risk level, or maybe just slightly higher, just so I can kind of have that level kind of test, and if it goes my way, then it goes my way, but if it doesn't, then I'll have a hard stop to get me out, so that I do not lose a lot of money like I did this week. And I'm going to keep on trading just the pattern. I'm going to try to take it one day at a time, forget about profits. And that was kind of hard towards the end of the month, where I started seeing the big number in my head, and it was kind of, you know, getting me really excited and emotional, and I just wanted to keep trading, and that's where it got me. And so I really want to just completely forget about making money this month and just focus on trading a pattern. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you guys next week. Peace.